A policeman allegedly involved in narcotics trade has been killed during a buy-bust operation in Infanta, Quezon. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
2 days after President Rodrigo Duterte warned over 100 Scalawag police officers at Malacanang, a narco cop was killed on Thursday during a buy-bust operation. The police identified as PO2 Ian Ray Abitona of Infanta Municipal Police Station was killed after resisting arrest during an operation conducted by the Counterintelligence Task Force, Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, and Quezon Provincial Police Station. But CITF Commander Police Senior Superintendent Romeo Karamat clarifies that the warning of the president had nothing to do with the killing of the rogue police. Karamat says Abitona has long been under surveillance after he was reported to have been recycling and selling seized illegal drugs. Abitana has also been known to use civilian assets in selling illegal drugs.
PO2 Abitona opted to fight it out with our police operatives when he sensed that he was transacting with the police pusher buyer. So ayaw naman sana naming mangyari to, but we cannot do anything but to defend ourselves.
The CITF chief adds Abitona would even blatantly deal drugs while in uniform. But the slain cop's wife, Amelin, belies the accusations.
Alam ko pagka gano'n mong protector mo sa mayaman ka na. Siyempre, mapera ka. Kung makikita niyo sila sa pamumuhay namin.
Abitona was assigned to the Illegal Drugs Unit in Quezon Provincial Police Office prior to his transfer as desk officer to Infanta Municipal Police Office. He is the 4th police officer killed in a CITF operation for resisting arrest. 1,000 more police officers are listed as targets in succeeding operations.
So my advice to our fellow policemen who are doing illegal activities to stop immediately. Otherwise, I can say that their days are numbered.
Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
At least 2 proposals are filed at the House of Representatives that will direct the Philippine National Police to train its uniformed personnel to curb the number of police officers' involvement in different crimes such as kidnapping, extortion, and illegal drugs. House Bill number 3153 proposes to transfer the administrative supervision and operational control of the Philippine National Police Academy, the Philippine National Police Training Institute, the National Police College, and the National Forensic Science Training Institute from the Philippine Public Safety College, or PPSC, to the PNP. This will amend Sections 24, 66, and 67 of RA 6975, also known as Department of the Interior and Local Government Act of 1990. House Bill 5787, authored by 2nd District of Pangasinan Rep. Leopoldo Batawil, also pushes to transfer the PNPA and the NPTI to the PNP from the PPSC. Meanwhile, PNP Police Director General Oscar Albayalde said there is no unified system that sets policies and directions for the police training and education. This resulted in a difficulty to maintain good programs and plans for the education and funds for the training of its personnel.
The need for proper foundation trainings and education programs cannot be overemphasized if our objective is to provide a highly professional and well-disciplined police force for our countrymen. At present, these objectives cannot be met considering the following dysfunctions noted in the current setup in our police.
Tropical Storm Garding will not directly affect the country, but it will intensify the prevailing southwest monsoon that will bring rains in most parts of the country. Pagasa reports that the cyclone was last spotted at 1,160 kilometers east of Basco, Batanes, with maximum sustained winds of 64 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 80 kilometers per hour. It moves westward at the speed of 10 kilometers per hour. According to Pag-asa, Eastern Visayas and most part of Luzon, except Cagayan Valley, will experience scattered rain showers and thunderstorms, while isolated rains will prevail over the rest of the country. Fishing vessels and small sea crafts are also advised not to venture over the western seaboards of Luzon due to high waves. Carding is expected to exit the Philippine area of responsibility by Friday night or early Saturday. Firefighters captured on tape a beautiful yet terrifying image of a fire whirl developing in a large blaze in Woodville, Britain. Meanwhile, several motorists in Switzerland were surprised over what they saw while passing Chamosun Road. Jovic Bermas tells us why.
English firefighters were met with a fire tornado on Tuesday as they tackled a large blaze in the village of Woodville. Video uploaded by the Leicestershire Fire and Rescue Service showed the fire tornado, also known as a fire whirl, stretching into the sky from a large plastic pallets blaze. Fire tornadoes, which are uncommon in the UK, are caused by thermal currents of warm air rising from the ground, drawing in fire and ash, according to the Leicestershire Fire and Rescue Service. Meanwhile, another video published online captured the moment a mudslide flowed onto a road in the Swiss municipality of Chamosun on Tuesday. Mud was seen rushing past houses, taking over a large road and destroying street signs nearby. Another video also showed the mud spewing onto a bridge as the mudslide rushed beneath it. People standing on the bridge could be heard shouting and telling each other to be careful. Swiss media reported that the mudslide flowed into the village of Gugnay. It caused minor damage to houses and cars, but no injuries were reported. While in Chile, some skiers captured the Chilean volcano Nevados de Chillán as it erupted fresh plumes of dark smoke near a popular ski field on Wednesday. Videos and photos shared on social media showed a smoke column rising on the ski resort. Chile's National Service of Geology and Mining reported the blast happened about midday with smoke reaching some 1,500 meters into the air. Authorities have raised the alert level in surrounding locations, but no evacuations have been ordered at the ski resort. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue.
To complete the most significant news for this day, Y News continues. Here are the top stories. The Philippine economy grew by 6% in the second quarter of 2018. This brings the country's gross domestic product to 6.3% in the first 6 months of the year, slower than the 6.6% growth in the same period last year. The figure falls short of the government's 7 to 8% growth target. Socioeconomic Planning Secretary Ernesto Pernia says the slowdown is partly because of the policy decisions undertaken by the government, like the Boracay closure, which are aimed at promoting sustainable development. Despite this, the Philippine economy remains the third fastest growing economy in Asia, behind Vietnam and China.
There are also multiplier effects of the impact of the closure of Boracay, not just on the economy of that island itself, but it also has other effects.
Malacanang, meanwhile, is not alarmed over the missed growth target, reiterating that the administration's policy does not rely only on economic and financial basis.
The president, of course, will exercise the powers of the state, known as police powers, to protect also the environment, and he has given a further priority, higher priority to the protection of the environment, and he makes no apologies for it. If GDP will further fall because of the desire of the president to protect the environment, so be it. We're investing in the future and not just in the present.
Senate still refuses to hasten the passage of the proposed shift to federalism despite calls from the lower house. This is following the warnings of some economic managers against rushing into the planned shift, which they say could have negative implications for the country's public finances. According to Senate Committee on Constitutional Amendments Chairman Francis Pangilinan, the government should address some questions in the campaign for charter change.
Hindi biro itong usapin ng charter change na dapat magkaroon na ng charter change. Dahil baka ang maging resulta nito ay man-made calamity. na both political and economic disaster.
Malacanang, meanwhile, directs the administration's economic managers to find ways to address concerns and see the downside of federalism.
The president will have to task them because the president, as you know, the principal of all the alter egos of the president, has said that he is pushing for federalism. So it is incumbent upon the alter egos to find ways and means now to make that happen.
The House of Representatives plans to reach out to the Department of Budget and Management after several of its members have questioned the shift to a cash-based budget system for the proposed 3.757 trillion 2019 national budget. The move comes after lawmakers have expressed concerns against the first cash-based budget, which is a shift from the government's previous obligation-based budget. Many Solons perceive that the fund for their districts would be slashed because of the new budgeting system. The DBM earlier explained that under the cash-based system, all government programs and projects budgeted for the fiscal year should be implemented and delivered within the same year.
Ayaw namin ng cash-based budgeting, gusto namin ibalik sa obligation-based. So because we changed the premise, babalik namin sa DBM. Sasabihin namin sa DBM, okay, ngayon na hindi na tayo cash-based at hindi kami papayag sa cash-based, obligation-based na po tayo, paano itong mga na-cut ninyo dahil cash-based? So babalik namin sa DBM ang problema.
In other news, the Department of Justice orders the Office of the Corporate Government Council to probe the contract entered into by the Nayong Filipino Foundation Incorporated with Landing Resorts Philippines Development Corporation. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara wants the OGCC to review all the documents pertaining to the transaction and to immediately submit their recommendations on the proper course of action. The move comes after President Duterte ordered the sacking of all board members of the foundation over what he described as a flawed 70-year contract over a government property. Under the lease contract, a $1.5 billion casino resort will be developed in the Nayong Filipino property in Parañaque City. Duterte has earlier said he will not allow new casinos to be built under his term. Malacanang, meanwhile, stands firm on the possible nullification of the contract following reports that the firing of foundation executives will not affect the project.
So when the president says it is flawed, then obviously the order to review is towards possibly putting an end to the contract.
Meanwhile, the Philippine long-distance company and NutriAsia blame the ambiguity of the current labor laws as the root of the issues regarding contractualization. During a Senate hearing earlier attended by the representatives of two companies and union workers, both PLDT and NutriAsia raised their issues about the labor code.
But I also understand that in my interpretation of the law, which may need clarification, we are allowed to outsource to call centers and business process outsourcing.
Makakabigay liwanag po yan kung anong po kailangan nating maybe amend or improve sa labor code.
Wag na po natin pagsamantalahan ang kakulangan sa batas.
Senator Joel Villanueva, meanwhile, will push for the Antiendo bill to be certified as urgent. Under the said proposal, labor-only contracting will be strictly prohibited, and a measure that provides for a security of tenure to all kinds of employees will be put in place. An alleged rogue policeman was killed during a buy-bust operation in Infanta, Quezon. The cop, identified as PO2 Ian Ray Abitona of the Infanta Municipal Police Station, was shot after allegedly resisting arrest during a joint police operation. But the Counterintelligence Task Force was quick to clarify that the killing of Abitona had nothing to do with the warning of President Rodrigo Duterte against 100 police scalawags presented at Malacanang. Police say Abitona has long been under surveillance after he was reported to have been recycling and selling seized illegal drugs.
PO2 Abitona opted to fight it out with our police operatives when he sensed that he was transacting with the police pusher buyer. So, ayaw naman sana naming mangyari to, but we cannot do anything but to defend ourselves.
And for the news abroad, here's Kat Dumaraos from Bangkok, Thailand live. Good evening, Kat.
Good evening, William. Another strong aftershock rocks Indonesia's Lombok Island as rescuers scramble to find survivors underneath the rubble. Authorities meanwhile blame the high quake casualty to poor housing quality in the island. This report tells us why. Residents and aid workers still reeling from Sunday's magnitude 6.9 quake feel another bout of panic as strong aftershock hits Lombok Island today. The aftershock with a magnitude of 6.2 sent many people into the streets and caused more buildings to collapse.
We were in the car when the car started to shake due to the earthquake. Then we ran out of the car.
It was shaking very strong just now. We were so panicked. We were very panicked because this is the epicenter.
The aftershock occurred amid rescue efforts to find more survivors under the ruins. Last Tuesday, a young woman was pulled out alive after surviving 2 days of being under a collapsed minimart. The official death toll rose to more than 300 on Thursday, though authorities say the number is likely to continue climbing as more people are found crushed under rubble. Thousands of victims of quake camping out under flimsy tents are in desperate need of clean water, food, medicine, and shelter. Some also recall their experience when a strong earthquake struck their villages.
I didn't know such a serious earthquake would happen. We some people were in a mosque when suddenly it shook greatly. We ran outside at once and looked around for our family members.
I knew nothing about earthquake, but I'm scared of it. My teachers have never taught us what we should do when earthquake happens.
According to the National Disaster Management Agency, the poor housing quality in the island may explain why earthquake casualty is high. Data show that majority of the casualties were caused by collapsed houses that the villagers built according to their incomes. The earthquake has also given heavy blow to the local tourism industry, and it may take 1 or 2 years to return the villages to its former state. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
Standby, Kat.
The United States will impose fresh sanctions on Russia after it is determined that Moscow had used a nerve agent to poison former Russian agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia in Britain. The U.S. State Department says Russia used chemical or biological weapons against its own nationals, which is in violation of international laws. The sanctions, expected to include a ban on granting licenses to export sensitive national security goods to Russia, would take effect on or around August 22nd. Russia has repeatedly denied any involvement in the nerve agent attack. 2 males suspected of child abuse in New Mexico are accused of training children for school shootings. Charlie Barredo tells us why.
2 men charged in the abuse of 11 youths found malnourished at a ramshackle compound in New Mexico were training the children with firearms to commit school shootings, prosecutors said in court documents filed in the case. One of the suspects, identified as Huraj Wahaj, is the father of a young boy whose disappearance from his home near Atlanta months ago prompted the investigation that led authorities to raid the compound located north of Taos, New Mexico last week. Authorities said remains believed to be that of the boy, who was 3 years old when his mother reported him missing, were found at the property on Monday but have not yet been positively identified. Wahaj, a second man accused of harboring him as a fugitive, Lucas Morton, and 3 women presumed to be the mothers of the 11 children, who were taken into protective custody from the compound, were each charged with 11 counts of felony child abuse. The 5 defendants made their initial court appearance before a local magistrate on Wednesday. They were due to be arraigned later in the day. Taos County Sheriff Jerry Hogreff said that investigators found a shooting range built at one end of the squalid compound, located on the outskirts of the community of Amalia in northern New Mexico, near the Colorado border. No mention was made of ideology or motive in initial court filings. The sheriff, in comments over the weekend, referred to the suspects as extremists of Muslim belief, but declined to elaborate on the characterization when asked about it by reporters at a news conference on Tuesday. According to New York media, Wahaj father Imam Seriyaj Wahaj is a prominent Muslim leader in Brooklyn who has been called one of the most admired Muslim leaders in the U.S. The FBI is also taking part in the investigation, the sheriff said. So far, no federal charges are known to have been brought in the case. Charlie Barreto, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Mandatory evacuations take effect as another wildfire suspected to be sparked by an arsonist rages in Southern California. Meanwhile, Venezuela's Constituent Assembly removed the immunity for some opposition lawmakers following drone explosions. Here's why from Beverly Saison.
In USA, mandatory evacuations went into effect as the so-called Holy Fire in Southern California rips across 6,200 acres, edging closer toward homes. The blaze, which started in Cleveland National Forest on Monday, is one of 17 major fires burning in the state. They include the Mendocino Complex in the north, the largest wildfire in California's history. Officials believe the fire was sparked by an arsonist, identified as Forrest Clark, 51, who was earlier taken into police custody. He is expected to be charged with aggravated arson and criminal threats and could be sentenced to life in prison if convicted. Clark is scheduled to be arraigned in court on Thursday, August 9th. In Israel, a Palestinian woman and her 18-month-old child were killed on Wednesday, in addition to one Hamas militant by Israeli airstrikes on Gaza Strip. Palestinian officials say that Gaza militants fired rockets into Israel, and the Israeli military responded with airstrikes despite talks of progress towards a possible truce to avert a fourth war in a decade. At least 2 Israelis were hurt by the rockets, and 5 civilians in Gaza were also injured, according to rescue services. And in Venezuela, the Constituent Assembly removed the immunity for some opposition lawmakers it says were involved in an attempt to assassinate President Nicolas Maduro with exploding drones at a rally over the weekend. Venezuela also confirms the arrest of one lawmaker and ordered the detention of another, accusing the opposition politicians of scheming to kill Maduro. The incident was allegedly carried out by 11 hitmen recruited and trained across the porous border with Colombia. Authorities said financiers in Bogota and Florida promised the group $50 million and a stay in the United States in exchange for killing Maduro. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Kath Dumaraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. And those are the reasons behind the news. August 9, 2018, on behalf of Angelo Castro III, I am William Thio, because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.